Hello, welcome to Tarot for Our Times. This is Sarah Sachs, your medium on the go. Now, as I said in the previous video that I did, that I wanted to do a reaction about the halftime Bad Bunny concert. And today, of course, the Pam Bondi testimony in the House, which was an absolute shit show, came up. But I thought, there's something connected with these. And so, as you can see from the thumbnail, the contrast. And I noticed when I put it together that both of the photos have hands raised, and that was, the big finale with the flags of the Americas. And what a wonderful unifying thing that was. And then the other one was in the house with the survivors raising their hands, and the Attorney General not even looking at them. And I really want to get to a point that, and I probably ranted about this on previous videos, is this really nauseating stuff that goes on in my community. Like, can't we just get along together? And that could sort of fly back in the days when it was Obama versus John McCain or Mitt Romney. Yeah, I could sort of, I could base, but this is between the light and the dark. So I'm really getting sick of hearing that. And I have seen things on the internet about well-meaning people saying how that halftime show was divisive. And maybe in a sense they were, but I would say that really separated the positive message of unity and love from, let's see, what what I will call, to not get the Facebook people in it, not if this gets reposted, is like, that the Bad Bunny versus La Fiesta de Basura Blanca. It was a really big contrast, but even bigger, and the people that got upset about it with the language and this sort of thing. So first thing, I never really had heard much about Bad Bunny or Benito, but I became a big fan after that. And the thing is that when he brings out the sugar cane, and then he recreates a village or a barrio, which really brought back some nice memories for me. It was like, I was married to a Puerto Rican, and his family lived in a really little town in the mountains. I'm sure that it was, although Bad Bunny was a bit north, and not that, he wasn't on the beach, but he wasn't that far on the northern end of the island. But I'm sure it was a small town, very much like the one I visited. And seeing things like that, and the stores, the bodegas, and selling the paraguas, and I thought, oh my God, I haven't even seen that, and I can't even tell you how many years of like that kind of syrupy, icy, really sweet drink. And the coca carts and all that sort of thing brought back very nice memories. And I did have that not far from me when I lived in the East Village, that I was just a couple blocks away from the bodegas and speaking Spanish in the shops and all that sort of thing. So very, very nice memories, and realizing what a really rich culture that is. That even the poorest people find time for joy, and the music, and the dancing in the street, and all this sort of thing. I doubt that exists anymore in the city, but I'm glad I lived there at a time when it did. So he really did, I did want to put a photo in the thumbnail with not only the flags, but that big message of love really, being more powerful than hate and that sort of thing. And I think that the contrast between that show and the hearings today was quite remarkable. I mean, that woman is so hate-filled and disrespectful. I saw the lowlights of it. I did everything from Midas Touch to the IHIP ladies to I just finished watching Don Lemon. I think I've had enough of that. And the absolute hypocrisy, like some cracker jack representative wants to do an investigation because of people shaking their booty, come on in that show. And they wanted to imagine what the lyrics must have been. And that kind of Spanish is pretty hard to understand. I studied it in school, and I wouldn't call myself fluent, but I speak a bit of it. And it's really, really hard. They've got a slang and, this sort of thing that's different from South America and Mexico and everything. So it's hard for me to see. The only thing I could catch in the beginning when he's talking about the bride and the groom. And then after that, it was like, I don't know what and someone on a thread claimed to have translated it into English and saying how toxic it. Well, I didn't even know what the hell the English meant. But at any rate, so everybody, they got their knickers in a knot over that. And the fact that, that there were gyrations and this sort of thing. These are the people that are shielding pedophiles, for God's sake. This is what, the hypocrisy is absolutely stunning with all of this. And so that's one reason why I don't want to hear these New Age people saying, well, that halftime show is a little bit divisive. No. If people have a problem with it, it's their problem. They could watch Kid Rock, who really, you can understand he is really down with pedophilia. So I don't need to go into that anymore. So we have, this is significant. Today's card, I use the death card because I really get a sense that that was the most watched halftime show in history. And then forget about the, all the people that, like me, that watched it later on, that caught it later on YouTube in its entirety. It's got to go to more than 135 million people that saw that. But at any rate, in the death card, this really is about leaving the old order and the hypocrisy and the religiosity of the evangelicals. And, when this nightmare's over, it won't be the death of hypocrisy, but it will be brought down quite a bit. So let's see what the companion card goes along with this. Okay, so the companion card of this is very appropriate. We're getting to the point with the Two of Swords in reverse. We're getting to the point where, we know the answer, and a lot of people that are, especially the psychics and the astrologers, who are, they know it, but they don't want to get involved in politics and take a side. They know what's right and what's decent. They've just got to take off the damn blindfold. And but this is where they know the answer, but not quite ready to own up to it. So these are the two focus cards. So I think what I'm trying to get at with the reading is on, it's finding what's acceptable and where do we draw the line. I mean, once again, I go back to Germany of the 1930s. I'm going to say if people had had the awareness that they do today, because we at least have that part of history to refer to where it actually didn't. It's maybe taking taking a stand and seeing what is right and what is wrong. Now, you don't have to, this is why now you don't have to have totally loved everything about the halftime show, but which I know some people did, but they said the message was great. As opposed to what happened today in the House of Representatives is like totally unacceptable. And we really have to step away from that. And if it steps on the toes of people that are just hanging on to this for dear life, that are in the less than 1/3 of the country now that wants to be in denial about the horrific stuff that people are finding in these Epstein files, that fine, but I don't want to be around them because I'm not going to convert them. They drank the Kool-Aid, that's that, and the only thing we can do is just hope they don't get in power. So, I would say it's part of the Great Awakening is maybe we had to have this ugliness bubble to the surface to learn to reject it. So I think it's like a real no-brainer, to tell you the truth. So I want to see on, basically how it applies to us in the journey of the death card with the awakening is leaving this hatred and hypocrisy behind and finding the more enlightened thing where people, they're dancing with flags of all these countries. And I do have to say this, that there are quite a few Republicans who have found this completely, they're still going to be conservatives and we're going to disagree, but they don't want to be associated with that stuff anymore. And in a way, I may not agree with them, but I have more respect for them than these namby-pamby New Age morons that are like, oh, well, we mustn't disagree or be divided. That, to me, I'm over that bullshit. Okay, so let's see what all of this means. Okay. I'm using a little bit of I think I'm going to take a different approach. Okay, leading up to where we are now, we have the Knight of Cups, and in this, the young woman is handing the cup over to the knight. And of course, it's in reverse. He's the predatory, love obsessed, which really isn't love. He's got mental problems, possibly, I would say, possibly substance abuse issues. And I would say this young woman may be unknowingly his prey. Okay, this is interesting. Then in the after tarot, and then I'm going to plop that one right in the middle. Okay, we have the Queen of Wands, who is putting her scepter away for the day, and she's putting it down, and she's got her sunflower, and it's kind of like she's done. I think maybe she gave this one person a clue here. So she's done with her business, and I think she's getting ready to go back to her family, because she, aside from being an inspiring leader and businesswoman and everything, she balances that with her family life. Okay, so the main card here is this. I can't believe, and this is a totally different, I cannot believe how much he and his cousin, the Five of Swords, come up. So this is, this is this is interesting because what I'm seeing is that this is the thief, this is the liar, this is the, you know, this is kind of like the Epstein types and people that were lying their asses off in Congress today, and the Pam Bondis kind of getting away with all of this stuff. But I would say these two cards are very important because we have this young woman kind of falling prey to this guy because he's groomed her. We have the queen who probably wised her up, and this guy doesn't know that his time is of getting away with this stuff. And this could be Trump, of course. It could be Trump too. Their time is up, but they think they're still getting away with it. So you got that. So the energy crossing it is the Knight of Wands. So he is ill-tempered, unfaithful young man. And that seems to be appropriate. It's sort of like this very kind of mean, toxic, philandering energy that's going on here. So I'm going to see what's the underlying thing of all of this as I just give these another shuffle. Okay, so we have here, we have the Page of Cups. The Page of Pentacles in reverse. There is something about, I'm going to say, in the beginning, earlier, there's like the beginning of the hidden money and the money laundering. Then we have here, now people are seeing the light. They're it's like they're getting the match lit under them. And there's an awareness here, like, this isn't going away. And it's like interesting in these aces, Rick, you've got the Hebrew letter Yud, which is the one that sets all the others in motion. And the energy is, once it's set in motion, it takes on a life of its own. They think that lying and this and that is going to make it go away, but it's not going anywhere. The fire is burning and it is taking on a life of its own. Aha! Can't make this stuff up. Okay, we have here his cousin in reverse. It's not only people moving away, but he's going to get caught. It's going to get caught. That is what is happening. This is quite a contrast for I think what I'm starting to see is the positivity of that concert for those that get it, in contrast to what happened today, is that there is an alternative. There is a better way of living. And I liked it, even though it was well choreographed, I kind of like the freedom. It did have an improvisational thing to it, even if it wasn't, but it was like sort of like very free, and I could tell everybody was having a great time. So it's kind of like the setup to say, like, this is the alternative. This is the alternative. So in opposition of that, we have, opposing this, yep, these are the machinations, and I will say that a lot of these people involved in the Epstein thing, they've got the money, they've got the education, the smarts, they've used it. They're damaged people that have used it the wrong way. And although there is kind of an awakening of what's going on, they will use every dirty trick in the book to keep it going. Okay, so on the conscious, I'm going to this deck now. On the conscious level, we have, the corrupt, the crime family. 10 of Pentacles in reverse is the crime family. This is what we're seeing. That this is really, there are some very, very powerful people involved with this. And I would say that people are see, this is the not the Great Awakening isn't all just about like, and transformation. This is about opening your eyes to the vast corruption that's happening in society, because the only way you're ever going to change it is first you become aware of it. So what's been going on underneath that? Okay. I think subconsciously is that while this is going on, the people feel as though they can't move forward. I mean, if you take a trip overseas, who knows what they're going to put you through when you go back, and that this is we're kind of with this sort of thing. The Epstein thing has to break out, because if it doesn't, we're just going to be stuck, and we're not going to be able to see our own prosperity. So, in the past, with all of this, we have the King of Pentacles waiting for his fortune to come in. And he's at the point where he's the hard-working guy, but he's just about to reach the prosperity. But with this regime, he's not even seeing it. It's kind of eluding. It is eluding him right now. And I think the thing is that this whole thing, and it's not just coming to light, it's that the whole thing that existed, because this goes beyond terrible things they did to children with money laundering, and this has been the fuel that's been feeding the 1%, as they call them. So, okay, so in the present, we have the 10 of Cups. That's kind of interesting. This is about, I don't see this as positively all the time as a lot of other readers do. I'm saying that right now people may be in kind of like a false sense of happiness, or they're trying to find their happiness wherever they can get it. But the pitfall, and it's possibly maybe families, turning to each other and becoming closer. But the thing is the illusion that the rainbow lasts forever when it doesn't. So I'm going to say that maybe people doing kind of what they need to do and living in certain illusions to get themselves through the day, and maybe temporarily is not such a bad thing, but this, to me, this is like, you got to get realistic. Okay, so this may be going on with a lot of people. I would say that this could be the card where it's good to, take a break, find your happiness. But I would say that the danger of the 10 of Cups is that people may find escapism and overdo the escapism a little bit too much, realizing they're going to be right back where they were when the rainbow fades. So, hopping off into the future, we have the Star. What's really interesting, because she's in the water. She's taking a little dip after having worked at mixing the earth energy and the intuition. Now she's just having bathing herself in it, but that's the way she's finishing up her day, and she's dumping the water back on, sort of like doing it in reverse. I would say that at the end of the day, that there isn't that kind of like, because she looks like she's having a good time, but in reverse, she's not really having a great time. It's possibly realizing that all the efforts that she's made hasn't quite played out, or things are not as the things are not as they seem. And this is also a card for the United States. So we are going to be in a little bit of a low point for a while, as the other countries like the UK are addressing this. And it's kind of like time for her to get back out of that water and get back to work again. Okay, another little future card we have here. The truth will come out no matter how much one of them wants to celebrate, the other one's holding back and saying, not quite yet. But the truth is coming out. Because this card has also come up. There's no stopping the truth. There's absolutely no stopping the truth. So let's see, in the hopes and the fears. Hopes and fears. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Our good old friend, the Tower. The hope is like, I can honestly say that maybe people say, we got to burn this administration. Not speaking figuratively for entertainment purposes only. This whole administration has really got to go. And the way that all of this stuff is coming out, and it will, is that it is destructing. The fear comes in with people afraid that our country and our democracy may be the tower. I'm kind of wanting to stay in the hopes that this whole thing is going to go, and they are going down the road of disaster. They are going down the road of disaster, and the one hope with the tower is that when that's gone, that leaves space to replace it with something better. Because believe me, when this is over, there's going to be, there will be laws made that are going to really curtail the executive branch, or, put some more checks and balances. So that's the hope and the fears. Okay, so let's see. How we see ourselves through, I would say, through the contrast of a very positive halftime show and the negative coming out. Like the way she acted is kind of like, come on, it was like, that these people are guilty as sin. So how we see ourselves in light and the contrast between these two things. Okay. Again, we have the Ace of Wands. We're becoming aware whether we want to or not. But the interesting thing about this particular Ace of Wands is that we've got a flower. A flower that's growing at the end. So because it could be a birth that once we see the burning bush, the blossoms could come, and that perhaps maybe we're seeing that, as painful as this is, that there is something good coming out of it. And it also, there are a lot of flowers in that show too. So I think it is I think that this is kind of an awakening of getting wise, of to not only the good and the bad. So let's see how the rest of the world is seeing us in light of these two things. Once again, they're saying, you know what, we're dealing with it, and we know. I would say that this is the rest of the world that, like with the UK, this sort of thing, that are addressing the Epstein thing with their, cast of characters. They've taken the blindfold off, and they're saying, United States, you know what to do, and you know the answer. You just got to take off the damn blindfold. That's what you've got to do. And I would say this is going to become more apparent, but also I think what they saw, because they were tuning in too, I think they saw that, the best part of us in that show is like every culture has their way of celebrating and being enriched with the different languages that we have, and that I would say maybe in the end saying we really are pulling for you because you've got a blend and a mix of culture that's quite unique. And when you let it go with, and I know that big Bad Bunny is a big international hit, that he's really captured the minds of a lot of people. They're saying that maybe perhaps he's not, I'm sure he's a flawed individual, but he basically maybe he does represent the best of who we can be, with the spontaneity and that sort of thing, and the fact that he truly is the American dream, that he came from. And I know those little towns, a small little town where people, they work at the tobacco place or 7-Up and they go into obscurity. But the fact is that where he came from and what he did is quite remarkable. So that this is part of like, yes, guys, you know what to do. So take the blindfold off and don't. I think the only distraction is that the ones that they created, that the MAGA people that are never going to change created, because I would say there's jealousy. There's jealousy. Like you don't have to understand the language to get the show. So I want to do a conclusionary read. Oh, put these back in the deck here. And I've been shuffling this, but I should shuffle it some more. So the conclusion portion of the reading, let's see, we have here. Okay, so where we're at now, the King of Pentacles. This is he came up in one, I think it was in the before. Because this is a guy that's reached prosperity through hard work and saving his money and believing in himself. I would say this may be the Bad Bunny card, is that he did show us that, and his big message, which got translated, I believed in myself. You can believe it. You believe in yourself. And that's why I'm here today. And it doesn't have to be like you're going to be a big rock star, but whatever part of your life to succeed, whether it's being a better parent or husband or sister or mother, whatever, that it's the self-belief that, because this guy came from nothing. When he's in reverse, then that's a whole different story. So, okay, the energy we have following him is, this is always the living in the past card, but I would say that it is, you need to look at whatever happened to you in your past and deal with it. Because you've got these kids, and this could be adults going back to their, healing the wounded part of them that existed when they were children. And that's funny, I never saw it that way, but that's how in reverse it's living in the past. But I would say it's going back to face it, because look at this. All of these Epstein people were incredibly damaged people. Most people that engage in sexual abuse of children have been abused themselves. But these people, the sad thing is that they've had the means, but denial is a pretty strong thing. So what this is saying is that people that do become successful, if you need the therapy, get it and go and heal whatever, face what face the past, try to get as much healing as you can from whatever way you choose to. So let's see, we've got, again, the Knight of Cups coming in. I'm going to say this really represents the abusers. I would say Knights of Cups and King of Cups in reverse, they represent the abusers, because they've been, what they do is what they call the grooming and the seduction area, and they know because they probably went through it themselves. So this is something that needs to be, it's easy, if you understand it, you can see these creatures coming. So the world is saying, we're on the right path, but there's a lot of unfinished business. This is going to, I think what the Epstein thing is doing, it's setting off a chain of events, because now what a bunch of us said like last year or before was that there's probably, with the trafficking of these kids, there's been money laundering, the Russians, this. So this is going to lead to a lot of other things too. So then we say it's time to, I think it's time for a lot of people to get off the pity pot and stop making themselves victims, because that's what the bad guys, I have to say, have been doing. This is where it stems from. So I always call this like, get out of living in the problem and start to live in the solution. And so, since this is reversed, that is throwing off all of that. You free yourself. You open up. It's like the Two of Cups. The Two of Swords. You take off the blindfold. You free yourself from all these toxic thoughts, and that's when stuff really starts to happen. Then we have Judgment, and this is in finding your community. I would say that's getting a little easier, since I believe, did I hear that he's a 29% approval rating in some polls? I always thought it was that his approval was much lower than the polls said. Then we have the Ace of Cups in reverse, which is about, a little bit related to this, is to release yourself of all the pain and the grief, and it's the grief, and with that, it's an emotional tsunami that we're going to be going through with all of this. Then you let it go. But I think the message was, the other night was, you've got to live in the joy of it too. You'll have the time. There's a time for you to go back and to, try to deal with the past, and that there is a big emotional release that comes from it. But it's a very cleansing thing. So I'm going to take one more card, and that's the Emperor. And I would say out of this will come a better leader, and we will know what a good leader is, and that our views of masculinity have been all messed up, actually. Because this guy isn't a fighter unless he's provoked. He's ready, but unless he's provoked. And I think the thing is a little bit of that gender bending that Bad Bunny does is, and I think that's what upset a lot of them, because, he gets his nails done and that sort of thing, is it especially in that culture where their views of macho-ness has not always been the healthiest. I think he's kind of awakened people to that too. So to see what a true leader is, and that the message of the Emperor is that you're the benevolent leader, and you don't go out looking for a fight to prove your manhood. He's very secure in his manhood, and he is an older and a wise person that probably had to learn that the hard time. You don't want him in reverse. That's like the main trump card, so to speak. So I would say that part of this whole awakening thing is to find that the gender stuff is transforming as well, and the revealing of people victimized, minors being victimized sexually and the exposure of that is going to turn that all on its ear. That we have, and I've done readings about how we've had a very messed up sense of what masculinity and femininity is supposed to be. So I'd say that we do need to live in the joy of our diversity, but also to know that people, the disapprovers and the ones that just you just don't want to be involved with them. They're going to have to find their own path if they ever, but it's too exhausting to try to change people. But the judgment card at the end is saying, stick with your tribe, and show others the joy that there is to this life, and that in that respect, maybe you'll attract some from the dark side. So at any rate, that is it, and I'm going to sign off for now. So bye.